So the agenda, what is being set, zero hunger, no poverty, and gender equality. I believe esteemed fellowship in the hall would agree with all the 3 points, as not only flagged by WAWA, but also we have been flagging for ourselves. And how do we really go for that? So more resilient animal health services eventually would lead to better animal production systems in a continuous way.
Hello.
And then how
Hello.
WAWA is having a tripartite agreement with WHO and WHO, maybe I would really like to draw attention of President Academy. We can also think of doing something. We have the welfare board, animal welfare board and other things. But if we could really make such kind of tripartite agreement with the food, feed, or the human health, would further help us. That's another one. And then data management tool has to be very strong. What Dr. Joshi said about ISRI doing it. Another part which not only we all know, it was also one of the important point. It was again flagged by DG WAWA, then inadequacy of veterinary education across the globe, specifically in the country. I'm sure in the next panel, Director IVRI would be touching that, so I will not do that. Then the next would be the second part of it, emerging opportunities, when we move towards the vision 2047. So to my mind, it comes that the 4 schematic or strategic or thematic or technology area, one can think of, yes, I'm minding it. Yeah. So I'm just completing. So there are only 60 to 70% of emerging, re-emerging diseases are of animal origin, which affect the human health. And I'll just put a one word, citing one example. When country faced LSDV, salutes to those people across the country, especially IVRI, when the veterinary vaccines were at place. And this pox virus, when it came, already existing vaccines could work. We also developed. So upscaling is another point of point of care diagnostics, vaccine upscaling, products, produces, and related to that, finding out the gaps, collaborations. And second is the translational platforms, especially on the biosimiles. So when we talk about production, what exactly? So biosimiles. And last 2 points would be exploiting genomics, as has been touched upon, and center of excellences, wherein we can think of biofarming, biotherapeutics, and biosimiles. That could be the future. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for very useful inputs. Of course, our next panelist is Dr. H.P. Singh Saab. By the time he takes a seat, there is a very beautiful study that in 1960, how the dietary pattern of the globe is changing. In 1960, the world used to consume around 100 major commodities. But in 2020, the world is consuming only 35 major, all others are minor. So that 100 has come down 1/3, around 35. And the number is decreasing and decreasing. That's what that study says. Towards animal products, of course, as general trend, people say when the economy grows, people move towards animal products, milk, meat, and those kinds of things. Of course, India has got another view, would promote vegetarian, and there is a very big program by Government of India called LIFE. That is Life for Environment. And there's a big event, probably on some other occasion we shall discuss in the academy, what are those activities and how academy also can contribute towards that. Now, let us request Dr. Singh for his observations. Sir, over to you.
Mr. President of the Academy, the secretaries, vice presidents, panelists, my colleagues, fellowships, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the President and executive committees to give me an opportunity to interact with you on the roadmap for Indian agriculture, research, education, and extension system. When we talk of the agriculture, many times we talk agriculture only for the crops. It is not so. When you talk of the agriculture, it takes its totality. It may be agriculture, horticulture, animal sciences, fisheries, and all other activities, allied sectors. So when we talk of the roadmap, the first step is to identify what is our needs. Then envision the challenges. Envision the challenges, and no doubt Dr. Joshi has rightly put the many things across. But I would like to not the repeat exactly the needs and challenges. What are the challenges? What are the likely changes in vision till 47 if you want to? The large number of people will be living in the city. That is going to be the major change. From 35 currently, it is expected that by that time, 60% of people are likely to live in the cities, the small or big cities. As has been said, expendable income of the people will increase. Because we want when the developed nation, your economic per capita income to increase. So it is likely to increase. We always see that it is increasing and it will increase. It means they will demand the quality food. So automatically the dietary habit will change. Then population, of course, has already been said that we are going to be the 1.65 or maybe there more, because already we have reached to the 140. So by the time the way that we are multiplying still, and where that's why we see that many times people come that we should have the population control bills and so on. So I expect that if you see, but it is reported data is that it may be 1.6. But I feel that already we are crossing the China by 2028 and 30. So we are going to cross everyone and we will be the largest population. So these are the changes. In these changes, what kind of the things you require? Another challenge is land is declining. Water is declining. Threat of climate change is hanging before us. So, and we have to produce more with less. With less water, less land in the environment of climate change. So how do you do that? How do you do that? This is the great challenge. And if you don't address, and I feel very happy, and I compliment the president of NAAS, that he has taken these issues, but one meeting may not be enough. Then you have to have the sectorial discussions, what will happen. Then only you can identify. Otherwise, many times even our council, what I have seen even as a DDG and so on, we do the research when already things have happened. We start micro irrigation research when the micro irrigation in the field, people are asking the question. But at the right time that we are thinking at least 5 decades ahead what we have to do. I'm really grateful to the president and all his colleagues that this is being discussed. Now you see the water. Earlier, 4,500 cubic liters of water per individual was available. It came down to 1,700 and today it is less than 1,400. So now we see that what will happen to availability of water in the 50 years to come. Already in the some of the areas in our country itself is scarce. And that's why I say the water productivities. We talk of the earlier our terminology was water use efficiency, but today we talk of the water productivity. There's an excellent report by Mr. Gulati. I think many of you must have seen. Interestingly, when they had analyzed the water productivity of all the states, they found that Punjab had the lowest water productivity. And when they compared the crop, majority of the horticulture crops provided the highest water productivity. How to increase? Many times people have been talking that we are exporting the rice, many of the economists too. We are exporting the rice. It means we are exporting the water because 1 kg of rice to produce requires 3,500 liters of water to up to 4,500 liters of water. But now technology has come down wherein you can produce the rice in less than 1,000 liters of water. So you have to adopt that technologies. And so our future research has to be on the precision system management, whatever it is. The varieties that has to be modeled, what kind of variety you require and where biotechnology may have to play. that should be tolerant to the diseases, that may require less water, it should produce even in given situation. So designers' crops will be very, very important in general. In production system management, so total mapping up that your whole area will be happening. So our research requires on that system. AI is coming in agriculture. Now many apps have come. They will be competing with you because the AI will give the answer, report they are making. So we have to, mind has to come to with them. The IoTs, they are becoming very, very important. We have a large number of data. Can we use the data, machine learning, through the machine learning, and take certain decisions which will be helpful? Now, some time back, we were discussing the NAAS has developed a lot of policy paper, and that is not being used. Can we put for those data for the machine learning and come out with a certain decisions of what are 1, 2, 3, 4 priority policy matter to be taken up? So you have to think differently than what you are thinking. We have to completely change ourselves if we want to address the future challenges. That is my feeling. It is in general for the agriculture animal or anywhere it may be, because challenges are greater than before. If you see the challenges of 96 to 62, the challenge was to feed the people. We are completely organic. We converted to the inorganic system. When we produce food, then wanted nutrition, then horticulture focus came, animal focus came. But at that time, challenge was different. So the simple, you brought the gene and put it in the dwarf gene, and that wheat become more productive, and green revolution was brought. But now challenge is different. You have to produce a quality. So it is not only the bringing one gene, you have to look to the different genes. It has to be quality, it has to be full of nutrition. Because future generation is going to demand more of nutritious food. And that's what COVID had taught you, more of immunity. And so the spices are becoming very important. If you look to the data, after the COVID, India exporting a lot of turmeric and ginger, because people are demanding that. So these are the sum of winning we must have to correctly, completely with the likely, what is likely to happen. One thing many times we forget, that I will request the Honorable DG that we should also consider that always say that what is the contribution of agriculture to the GDP of agriculture, which declined, but after COVID, it increased again to the say 18 or 19%. But we forget that this agriculture GDP, agribusiness contributes more than that. If agriculture is not progressing, the inputs will not come. A single, transportation system, if you look around, that contributes more than 60% from the agriculture. Maybe the input transportation or maybe the produce transportation. So we must have to take in the totality. So that changes also when doing the research, you must have to consider to how to deliver the things, our produce to the people. Then only can integrate the total system. So we have to talk differently. Now coming to the horticulture. Horticulture was the last focus. People were, in the beginning, if you see all the data we were saying, before I became the horticulture commissioner, only food security. Even then Kamal Pandey was the director, the secretary, virtually we had hot discussions. When I said that, no, you have to have the nutritional security and then require the horticulture, then mission was brought. So we have to be assertive. If you have to be assertive, then only you get something. But assertiveness has to come with the data. Even in the when earlier the planning commission was there, then we have to be assertive. You have to tell them what is the fact. Even if you go to the finance, you have to tell the fact, but based on the data. Without that, you cannot. So coming to the horticulture, if you look to the horticulture, how it has developed. We had produced only 25 million tons of the horticulture produced in the 50s, compared to the 50 million tons of the crops. Till 90s, there was no focus on horticulture. It was only late 90s the focus came. The horticulture, the horticulture budgetary allocation just from the 70 crores, it was increased to almost 750 crores. and subsequently it got increased to 7,000 crores and all that. And you can see the impact what has happened across the country. Horticulture production has increased after bringing the mission mode approach and all that. And 2 decades, if you see, we have crossed from 25 million tons, we have crossed. And we are almost reaching to the 350 million tons. But again, if you see the challenge, that is much greater than before, because by 2047, we must have to produce 750 million tons of horticulture produce, which includes fruits, vegetables, everything. That is based on what is the likely change in the population, what is the amount of you require, for example, in case of potato, that is also total production only, it goes to seeds. And then also we export, taking all into the account, we had calculated, and this was it also projected about 5 to 7 years back, not today. It was earlier we had produced. And that happens. Just like, 1987, I had projected that 320 million tons of horticulture produce will be needed by 2021. That happened. So this is also to happen. And I can say that if you can visualize right now, that we can address the many of the issues. So now we have to change. Just a few days back, I had a global conference on precision horticulture, which discussed the various issues. And based on that, what is likely to change. So here, I think our research focus has to change to produce more with the less. That may be less water, less land if you have. You have to go for the greenhouse technologies. If tomato can maximum, you can produce 50 tons, 60 tons. But if you go to the greenhouse system, you can produce 300 to 600 tons per hectare. So it means land requirement can be reduced. Then you have to, precision means you have to go for the sensor-based agriculture. Already it is happening in the case of irrigation. Sitting at home, you can do it. Automation has already happened. And automation is no more luxury now. All the high value crops like banana and horticulture crops has already gone to the automation. Even the vegetable, many places that has gone completely to the automation. So this is the change taking place. So now the Niti Aayog, yes, last. Niti Aayog has also, another question is small holdings. Niti Aayog has also brought the regulations where the contractor can be there for the 10 years. Now a state has to adopt that so that this small holdings problems can be reduced so that you can go for mechanization and so on. So I'm really thankful to you. There are many issues which will require to be flagged because one day discussion cannot give all the things what you did, but just I wanted to bring some of the points of the focus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. These are extremely important points which you have mentioned. Just to share one information which the initiative government of India has taken in digital agriculture. The plan is within 1 or maximum 1.5 years time, every plot of land in this country will be mapped and this will be available. And this will be tremendously helping not only for planning, but all kinds of purpose, all this DBT and all kinds of things. So this is going to happen. Precision agriculture in all levels are also happening. But then what sir said is very important. It just reminded me, I don't know whether you have read Alice in Wonderland. There is a very beautiful one. So that little girl asked, sir, in which direction I should go? Then the questioner said, before I answer you in which direction you should go, you please tell me, where do you want to go? So if you do not tell me where do you want to go, how can I tell you in which direction you should go? So therefore, where we want to go is the first and foremost, and then only we'll be able to tell, we'll be able to develop in which direction we should go. So thank you very much for sharing your very valuable thoughts. Now, of course, fisheries one, and Dr. Jana, over to you.
Good morning, one and all. Most respected dignitaries present on the dais, President of the Academy and Director General ICAR, Dr. Himanshu Pathakji, both Vice President Dr. Anil K. Singhji and Dr. Bora Saab, both secretaries and conveners, my fellow panelists, fellow sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I know I have got only 10 minutes time. I will try to touch only the key areas only 7 minutes time, I will try to touch only the key areas. We know the areas which are important. We know the issues. If you look at last 7.5 decades, all of us who are working in this sector, we cherish for several reasons, productivity increase so much, export so much, and all which I would like to mention. But we know the challenges, the objective before us, the goal before us, as President first of all told. Maybe when we got independent, we had only objective is increasing production and productivity. Today, goals are much higher. Along with their production and productivity, that will remain relevant today also. Quality, safety, efficiency, you told. One more important aspect when you talk of fisheries is diversity. None of us who are fish eaters, we don't like to eat same fish daily. We like to, in a 7 days, 14 meals, we like to have 14 different type of fish. That is what diversity we need. We talk that last 7 decades, probably we have got breeding technology, so many 70, 80 species, we give all the list. Whether we need to increase those species spectrum or no, or not, we are still debating it is necessary. Probably 30 years back, we thought maybe 6 species or 8 species are good enough. Today, when you are looking at sea, probably we need to have different species which we have not thought 30 years back. Sir, when you talk of in ester years and today years, probably when we know today, when you talk of aquaculture growth, so much out of 16 million ton, 10 million ton comes from aquaculture. When you look at 47, our expectation is we need to increase to 34 million ton. That means 18 million ton we need to add from 16 million ton present now. So this 18 million ton has to come only from the aquaculture. From where everybody was looking at the inland aquaculture. We know that whatever the resources we have at this point of time, 25 years ahead, whether these resources will be available for us, we do not know. Maybe land will be available, whether water will be available for us, still we have concern. If at all water will be available, what quality of water will be available? Those remains a concern for us. So we are talking of again land-based farming, intensive farming in the small areas, like in this area, can we produce about 100 million ton, 100 ton of fish through different means like recirculatory aquaculture system, bioflex system, and so on and so forth. But one area we have advantage in fisheries is, for example, the resources where nobody has or probably trying to have any sort of conflict is reservoirs. We have 3.5 million hectares of reservoirs, which we have not been utilizing for farming. Maybe from capture we have been producing. So we are trying to estimate today if 0.5% only 0.5% of the reservoir resources we use for cage culture, we should be able to produce somewhere around 5 million ton. If now everybody is looking, moving from land to sea. So the blue, we have been talking of blue economy, blue transformation, and all we have been talking recent days. So how we are utilizing the ocean resources? We are now farming in the coastal area, just a 6-meter diameter cage. We are producing somewhere around 3 ton of fish. So just we have calculated, if we use only 1 kilometer from the coast, we should have at least 45,000 to 50,000 hectares of resources for cage culture. That itself will give about 3 billion ton of high value species. We are not talking of low value species. Then people say whether we should go for a everything high value species, probably not. That should not be approach only. We need to go for low value fish also, because we cannot, there will be people who will not be able to afford. For the country like even Japan, they had consumption 40 kilo per capita 20 years back. Now it is coming to 23 kg. Not because they don't want to eat fish, because they are not able to afford. Even the people in the Japan, they are not able to afford because seafood has become so expensive nowadays. So probably we need to be talking of diversified species. Again, I was talking of these species which we have bred. Would it be any technology is necessary to continue that? Yes, probably yes. Why? Because if tomorrow temperature increases, there are 2 degree or 3 degree temperature, whether these species will breed, we do not know. Probably we need to see how the physiology changes. Probably we need to study a lot on the biological changes, what is happening on those areas. Or some of the areas which we have seen the potential in the genetic improvement. For example, the last 25 to 30 years, we have been able to have selective breeding of 3-4 species with growth efficiency of 40 to 50%. But we see, looking at the last 30 years advantage in terms of selective breeding, we foresee this is one technology we should be able to take advantage of, but it needs time and effort. For example, 30 years, we could, all of you know, this fish takes about 3 years of time to get maturity. So to have a 10 generation or 15 generation, we need about 30 years of time. That means if you want to continue that research, which we have been doing at present till 47, the continuity of those research would be so important at this point. Again, integrating this knowledge, Dr. N.K. Singh Saab was mentioning about the genomics research, just doing genomics, we do understand this, information is so important if tomorrow want to do genome editing and all. So probably all those information what we have been generating today need to be continued tomorrow. When you talk of aquaculture, most important aspect is the feed. 60% of our expenditure goes towards feed. When you talk of feed, whether it is maize, mainly the agricultural byproducts, what we are talking, whether it is maize, soybean, etc., etc. When you look at 15 million ton additional aquaculture produce, that means about 20 million or 25 million ton of extra feed ingredient we need. That means we'll be competing with the other sector like poultry or other livestock sector. So whether it depends on our resource, it would depend on that much production coming from the agricultural byproducts. All of us know, again, the cereals and all going for the biofuels and all. That is okay, but can we use that ingredients, or maybe distillery ingredients which are coming, or some of the non-conventional resources like microalgae resources, can we use as a food component? So important. Today, fish meal is not available. Can we, the black soldier fly, which we have been telling as a wonderful maybe protein sources, but how efficiently we will be able to produce those? Maybe research on this line will be so important. Health remains relevant today. Maybe 30 years back, we did not realize. Maybe coming days will be much more serious problem like what COVID we have seen, bringing more species into this spectrum, taking to the intensive farming. Disease will remain as within 1 minute, sir, I will complete. Disease will remain relevant tomorrow also. So how prepared we are, emergency response system, surveillance and all. So all those remain relevant besides the diagnostic vaccines, which are definitely important areas. We have been talking of AI and precision that will remain relevant in aquaculture also. What we are thinking also, non-food commodities like maybe seaweed or ornamental or pearl, that remains, we have not given emphasis over these years. For example, bioactive compounds, we have been talking only fish as a food, but so much of bioactive compounds we have been able to produce from the marine resources. As I told, going deeper to the waters, more than 200 meters, we do not have efficiency in fishing. So some of these fishes which remain 200 meters to 2000 meters depth. So what is that gear we should be using? What is that craft we should be using? We need to understand about the biology of the fish. So we, several areas we have been trying to deliberate over the last 1 year. We will be deliberating again in the different platform like this in the coming days also. Again, all those different areas we will be working out in detail, and we will try to give whatever maybe council or NAAS desires. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I do understand I have covered only 30% of what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jana. You really touched upon several very, very important things. Yes, we all agree that today alone it cannot be done. This is the beginning. We will be continuing our discussion, not once, twice, maybe many, many more times in whole coming months and years, because this is so important. But today is the beginning and you are just initiating, flagging of the ideas so that the whole academy can start thinking about it. And then my request, and Dr. Joshi also will be expecting, at least the panelists, if you can send us maybe 1-page draft of what you just mentioned today, what you flagged up today. So that will be helping us in consolidating the ideas. And not only the panelists, my request will be to each and every one of you, you please send, if possible, maybe half-page or 1-page note of your thought of how to take it forward. So our next panelist is Dr. Tyagi. And again, as I said, our panelists do not need any introduction. Dr. Tyagi is so well known to each and every one of us. Sir, over to you.
Distinguished dignitaries on the dais, my distinguished fellows, good morning to all of you. Well, I feel pleasure standing in this hall after 7 years for presenting the same thing which I had presented on July for the directors and the Vice Chancellor Conference. That Vision 2050 was actually developed with a free, and Dr. Joshi was our convener there, and I was associated with that. So I don't want to repeat all that. What I find is that I have again gone through that Vision 2050, and everything what is being talked is listed there. Some changes have taken place, so I will be pointing out only toward them. We talk of the roadmap. So roadmap is a 6-step process. All the 6 steps cannot be gone through today. So I will confine myself to the first 2, that is visioning and exposition of the innovation and technologies that probably lead to development of the goals. Vision, mission, goals, they have got nested relationships. Whatever is goal for the lower level becomes probably objective at the lower level, objective becomes like that. So there is a nested relationship. For me, if I want to see vision for myself, I say by 2047, India becomes one of the leading scientist innovations and competing in high-tech sectors, digital power, unicorn value, to transform Indian agriculture, ensuring food and nutrition security, economic prosperity, and social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. Now, if this is the vision, what are the broad issues that are to be discussed? We all feel very happy that industrialization of food and agriculture system, 1960 or 65 onwards, has tremendously increased the food supply, but it has created dramatic consequences for the environment, accelerated climate change, biodiversity loss, land degradation, desiccation of and degradation of water sources. So for me, in land and water source sector, these are the issues that become important for discussion. So my goal will be then regenerating the health and further enhancing the carrying capacity of the degraded natural production system, particularly land and water and atmosphere, without compromising the food security for growing population, and remain these are very broad issues. That is happy people, happy system. Now, we have all talked that there is an increase, there is an explosion of knowledge in non-agriculture sector. We call it non-specific technologies. Those technologies, they have not originated from agriculture sector, but they have application across the board. And everybody, some people already have mentioned about them. What I want to say is the current survey indicates that 17% of the contribution to the new researches, new innovation has got composition of IoT, Internet of Things, 17% robotics, artificial intelligence 14%, drones 13%, agri biotech 7%, and big data 6%. So this is the change that we can consider when we talked, say, a decade back. This is the change that is being brought in the agriculture sector. Now, so far the themes are concerned. So far as I cannot cover all of them. So I have identified only 3 themes, 3 major ideas in which we have to go. Dr. Joshi in his presentation mentioned about the changing food production and changing requirements. Whether you change food habits, whether you change land use, whether you change your stakeholders, this is going to affect what is the relationship, what are the interlinkage between food, energy, and water. We call it, there is a interrelationship. But so my first theme is harmonization of food and energy security in food and agriculture system for managing and the competing demands from different sectors. These competing demands can be within crops, that can be within say non-agriculture agriculture sectors like that, for ensuring integrity of the ecosystem, that is land, water, and biodiversity. So my first theme or mission for this is harmonization of food, energy, and security nexus in food and agriculture system. 2 years back, we held our Congress, and where the main theme was this, Dr. Pathak was also associated with that. So this is my first theme. The second is automation in mechanization and food and agriculture. Everybody has, a few others have also mentioned. And the third is bio-circular economy in agriculture. The previous speaker, Dr. Jana, was talking about the waste. So what I want to talk about is from waste to wealth. And this is increasing. So I have a lot of work is being done at different places. But this is not under a broad mission or a broad project. So I propose that this can be taken as bio-circular economy in agriculture for reducing pollution. So these 3 ideas: harmonization of food, energy, water sector. Second, automation in agriculture. It is going to come. But the problem is that at present, I had discussion with the present DDG Dr. Jha 2 days back. We do not have the adequate trained manpower to undertake those issues. Whether it is the development of sensors, whether a lot of electrical engineering, a lot of electronics, a lot of chemical engineering is involved. So unless we develop that capability, whatever we are planning, we can keep on talking, but it will not actually materialize. So considering the first, what WF tries to answer. It tries to answer how to meet the development needs of food, water, energy in a sustainable manner without compromising the security of the natural system. Second, which individual technologies and their combination can help us achieve these desired results. Then what are the mixes of policies and technologies that will give a solution? And lastly, to what extent it will contribute to reducing the greenhouse gases, which is ultimately one of the objectives of this. There are a lot of tools and techniques have been developed. I have a write-up. I'll forward it to you. Major problem is the capacity development to undertake these researches. So I say the management strategy to achieve these R&D goals, this is applicable to others also, but particularly in the area which I'm speaking, change the benchmark. Future progress in these areas should not be referred, the reference point should not be 1970. This should be 2015 or 2020, so that we can actually judge how much we are progressing. Otherwise, whether I was associated with the first Vision 2020, then Vision 2030, then now Vision 50. So ultimately, unless we change the base level and fix a benchmark that henceforth, our progress will be judged with this. Second is fixed targets and indicators. In what terms your success will be evaluated? Third is develop capacity to absorb in a system to capacity to these new developments. As I said, we very often talk of these say machine learning, AIs, blockchain technology, but how many of us are actually able to do this work? Therefore, the third important thing is that we should, in the whether by collaboration or in-house, we should develop this capacity to absorb this explosion of knowledge, which is non-specific technology. Yes, I'm finishing. Then lastly, away from the disciplinary ways of thinking, it is very good that the President DG, he thinks of talking to different universities, other non-agriculture sectors. This is really needed. Away from disciplinary thinking, develop intellectual fusion in thinking and implementing the programs. This is what I wanted to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for highlighting some of the very pertinent issues, very pertinent issues rather. Here, let me clarify one thing. Of course, vision documents we have prepared for several times, several occasions. But what we are trying to develop now is the roadmap. And there is distinctions between these two. Here we want very specific information of how to reach to those targets. Targets are being worked upon at various levels. Government of India has got several committees for every sector to fix the target, starting from food production, milk production, and all kinds of things. There are at least 20 committees which are working. Of course, we will be working on agriculture and food system. So targets will be decided against stakeholders, water trade, increasing subsidy, others. But then our whole emphasis here should be how to achieve those targets. What is going to be the roadmap? What we should do? How we should do? Who will do that? Where it will be done? All these details should be a part of this particular document. So vision is one thing, mission is another, but we are talking mostly of the roadmap. How we will reach there? Which research? What kind of capacity building? What kind of resources? Who will do? How it will be done? All those modus operandi should be a part of this particular exercise. And then only we'll be able to successful in this one. The last presentation before we break for tea actually is by Dr. Prakash. Sir, over to you. Before sir starts, let me tell you what Dr. H.P. Singh sir was talking about China as India's population. Actually, India has already surpassed China. Sir, we are already number one. So there is no competition anymore there. On 24th of April rather, this country, we have achieved that.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Dear President, chairs, panelists, fellows, online and offline, and my ICR colleagues. It's a great pleasure to address a few points from my side, representing probably the food culture itself, like agriculture, food culture is very important. And I would take about 7 minutes, not on the Richard scale of earthquake, but 7 minutes has to be 7 minutes. I'll try my best. I guess number one point I want to make is to start with, India is already committed to 17 SDGs, actually, from one side or the other. We need to take that into consideration because that's a delivery by 2030, already defaulted by a couple of 5 years. So we need to fuse our 2047 Amrit Kal to the SDGs as a first step. How we can modify those SDGs to fit into our 2047 rather than our 2047 to that SDG 2030. Number one point, very important, otherwise we'll be duplicating and it becomes a confusion system, number one. Number two, 2047 is not the beginning. 2047 is the celebration year that what we wanted to achieve. If we think that the starting point is 2047, I think we are totally misled, totally misled. It's a celebration day, just like the Independence Day, 100 years later. So our vision has to be agricultural research to celebrate what we wanted to do today, and we have done it already. Perhaps I would also force myself and others to think of a virtual date like 2037 and not 2047, because 2047 is unchangeable. You can't change it. Like SDG was changed to 2030. We can't change it. So we need to have a target, a virtual target, 2037. Number two. Number three, to energize, enable, and encourage youth in agriculture from the basic school system of interest in plants. You can't make somebody who's an adult and say, you take agriculture now, very late. So to train people at a young age to do agricultural research is fundamental, and it can only succeed if we start at the bottom. And that dynamic agricultural mindset and agricultural research mindset are needed for human resource. And many of us may not be here by 2047, but they are the ones who will do the research. Number three. Number four, innovative computational gastronomy of soil is very important in understanding the nutrition of the plants, and that maximizing the benefits of the soil to fit a crop, really to fit a crop to the soil fitness is so important. Cannot be done just like that overnight, but by adoption of AI and IoT, as mentioned by others in the field, and also by crop, and not by an overall estimation. And therefore, connecting microbiome of the gut to the microbiome of the soil becomes a future gut-brain axis and future gut of the soil to the brain axis of the plant. This requires huge setups. And for that setup, point number 5 is we require finance. We need commitments from the public and private sectors to commit this kind of research. And that research is costly. Just like the importance of vaccine that happened, 25 years of vaccine became 3 months of vaccine. So we are ready to do that, provided we invest money. Next point is to harness more plant proteins, because that is the future. Plant proteins are more sustainable, carbon footprint less, and therefore less energy, less water, less carbon footprint. And we need to sustain that clearly through nutrient revolution and agriculture to connect to nutrition, to put the SDG goals into proper perspective and the nutrition mission of the country in the right direction. It's also important on the 360-degree cycle in terms of the 6th point I'm going to make, is the byproduct and co-product utilization of the entire plant that gives you the crop or horticulture or whatever it is. Like what we do in fisheries. I like what Dr. Jaina said. The entire fish is utilized for one way or the other, for nutraceuticals. So therefore, this utilization has to come. For example, in rice, we have the rice bran, rice oil, and we have the various sterols, the fiber, the protein, everything is utilized. And how do you really look at the plant to dispose? My last one point is the focus on agri-research and pulses, and also on the coarse grain, with focusing on the $5 trillion economy. Oilseed crops cannot be forgotten. Our demand for oils will almost double probably by 2047. Are we ready for oilseed? No, that's one of the red negative that Dr. Joshi showed. So that's an economy point of view. It's not necessarily that we can reduce oil consumption, but oil is needed for brain, please remember, for the entire system. So therefore, I would focus on research on oil seeds, especially edible oil seeds, from unknown sources to known sources in terms of reducing that import substitution. I would also say a roadmap 2037, as I call, towards the celebration of 2047, must be to increase the farmer's profit by 25 times, should be a goal, and not double the income. We are not happy with that at this point. But 2047, why 25 times? Farmer has to be a part of the profit chain, of the food chain. If he's not a part, he's going to be doubling, tripling income. Profit of today should be 25 times in 2047. That's when I and you will become agriculturalists. I'll close my talk by telling this entire exercise of life itself is a food chain in the food culture of agriculture, from farm to plate. is important, from the creating fraternity of scientists who are innovative, fraternity of teachers who are absolutely fantastic, and to create fraternity of students who will carry our mantle of 4th June 2023 to 2037 to deliver the celebration of 2047, almost close to about 40 years to 30 years. And this shall happen only if we have enough finance. We can plan very well, but if the financial commitment is not there from private and public sectors, this shall remain as a policy, and that should not happen. And therefore, we should fight hard. India can feed the world with its natural and human resources, provided it also can sustain itself into the financial demand for agricultural research, along with other research. And we are never in isolation in agricultural research. If there's an ISRO launch today, tomorrow it is related to agriculture. Thank you very much for this wonderful time. I took 7 minutes on the dot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Precisely 7 minutes, 7 points, very forceful points, and put wonderfully rather. 2047 is fixed. Nobody can change that. Only what we can do till then is the question. ICR is also going to celebrate its centenary year in 2028, 29. We were established in 1929. So 28, 29, you are going to celebrate that. Again, there will be PAN, but all the points, sir, which you have mentioned are extremely important, and we are going to put. And I wish all of us will be here in 2047 to see what kind of India will be at that point of time. And I'm sure that point of time, India will be a developed nation. India will certainly be much, much better place to live, and all of us will be celebrating that particular day. With this, let us break for tea. We shall come back at 11:45. It's only 5? Okay, so 12, 15 minutes. Point हो गया? मेरा क्या बता रहा है कम है?
पास कर रखना रिकॉर्डिंग पास कर दी
तो कितना ज्वाइन कर दिया टोटल देख लो जरा स्टेटस हुआ सर हमको बुला लेते हैं
लाइव नहीं होता वही पूछ रहा था लड़का क्या करा
चलिए